What interests me about what you've got going on is your backstory. Actually, really interested me. And I had a look at it. I was like, and this came about. What was interesting is how this actually came about. Was I put a post up? I think it was on. I think it was the 2nd of January or the 3rd of January. I put a post up on Facebook like, hey, I'm looking to lose some weight or something like this, right? And I think we hadn't communicated before for a long time, right? So you probably just went for the, you going for, well, what you do, you message me like, hey, I can help you. I'm like, yeah, cool. It was actually a bit of a joke. It's like, yep, okay, I get it. And I was like, hey, and then I did look you up, and you've progressed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years within your career professionally, and you've sort of moved. I think you've moved a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit from just sort of the bodybuilding side into the more holistic overall, maybe even spiritual side of things. Maybe that's the right word. I don't know if you
like more like more of the wellness, health and wellness side,
like coaching almost, perhaps. Maybe.
Coaching.
Yeah, would that be okay. And I looked at that and I was like, I want to talk to you. It's like I want to get 20 minutes with you and just have a conversation and just find out this kind of stuff, that sort of thing. And it really interested me with that. And I was like, shit, that's cool with what this, what you do, because, you've got the pictures, that you have on the Instagram and, on the gram, it shows, you've got this amazing physique, right? Which you work hard to do, and it's dedication and so on. And it's January and everybody's like, hey, I want to get, I want to lose that Christmas, a little bit of extra fat, and I want to tone up and this type of thing. And we got this thing in the UK, it's called Vegan January, like I said, or veganuary. Right, Veganuary. Do you have that in the States? Maybe it's an American concept.
I
didn't even know it.
Well,
and I look at it, and a lot of people are making a lot of mistakes on there, and you have done a video about sort of being an unhealthy vegan as well, this type of thing, and I'm like, people got to be careful. The food companies are smart. They know people are going to start doing this stuff and jump on this train of buying these products and processed foods. And it's like, don't get me wrong, from an ethical stance, it's going to be better to get these vegan foods, but from a health stance, maybe not. Some of these foods are terrible that people are buying these processed foods all the time and so on. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Because people think when it comes to transitioning into a plant-based lifestyle, I mean, the alternative meats and the fast foods are great introductions. They're great introductions to show people that, being vegan isn't all about just salad and eating tomatoes and broccoli all day. I mean, it goes a little bit more deeper. There's more of diversity in the diet, so we do have our junk foods, but at the same time, you still want to pay more attention to the foods that really optimize your health. Yeah,
absolutely. And you can see that on, I was looking on your profile a little bit earlier. I think your most recent status update, or status, as you would say, is somebody who was vegan, who's still vegan, and the transformation. And it's like, here you go. So vegan is not vegan. There's a whole spectrum of it.
I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, you want to be on a healthy diet, so any type of lifestyle, that you choose to pick, regardless if it's animal-based or even plant-based, you have to have plans and a structure to go into that diet, because especially if you're going to make it more of a lifestyle change, then you really want to know what exactly you're doing. Like, you have to re-educate yourself about the whole nutritional aspect of it.
No, absolutely. And I was talking, there was a big conference here in London, actually. I was talking to Neil Barnard about this, about who I think we conversed a little bit, and you see, he's got that PCRM organization based out of DC. which is really focused on animal ethics. But I was talking to him. I said, how do you get people to make the switch? And he said, sometimes they'll come for health reasons, sometimes ethical reasons. He said, but ultimately it's about environment and educating people. So, it doesn't matter whether it's me or you or these guys that are really at the top of their game in a medical profession. It's always going to be education that's going to get someone, from one place to another. And one of the things that interests me, and I'm going to ask you straight in about it, is what got you in. And I know, but tell other people what got you into this. You were in the Marine Corps, right? That's not exactly, when people think vegan, right? Yeah. When people think vegan, they think, here's this guy going to appear in wearing some dress and some, the Hawaiian, whatever they're called,
like hippie and stuff like that.
For real, and some guy walks into the health food store, and it's it's whatever, right? You were in the Marines for 8 years, right? What happened?
For me, I did 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, fully active service, deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom 3 and 4. Then after that, got into the United States Navy Reserves. So that's more part-time. Did that for another 4 years. Now, when I was in the Navy Reserves, I had more time to go to school and find my career, what I want to do in life. And through that journey, for me, it all kind of started when I was doing a public speaking class and I saw Gary Yourofsky. He's a vegan activist. You can look him up on YouTube because the speech that I saw it live, but he does have the recording on YouTube. It's called The Best Vegan Speech Ever. You just have to type that in and you'll see it if you want to watch it. Definitely watch it if you have at least an hour of free time on your hands. It's a really good speech.
It's very powerful, isn't it? It's very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. I mean, you're talking about big, hardcore military guy, been to war, ate meat all the time, thought, really had a huge connection to meat, and masculinity and being strong and building muscle.
Yeah.
That speech. Once I heard that speech, and make a long story short, it definitely changed my whole entire perspective of life, and that's when I wanted to go into health and fitness and nutrition.
Was that like a overnight, just an instant shift? Watching that?
No, it wasn't an instant shift because during that time, I wanted to go vegan. I knew that for a fact because when I saw all the things when it came down to animal welfare, it kind of resonated with me to a lot of just innocent people, innocent beings, the things that I saw in war. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen how people treat each other to the worst extremes. And when you see that type of stuff and you experience that, you see that a lot of people don't really value life as much. It's just whatever. And when you kind of compare that to some of the treatments to animals, it's very similar. That feeling, the pain, the misery, it's the same. And the animals do experience that same type of experience, especially within that type of environment that's violent. And that kind of resonate with the people. You probably heard stuff if you're around negative people, you become negative as well.
For real,
the environment.
So
when you see the slaughterhouse videos, you'll see some farmers beating up and abusing animals. And this isn't it's something that's not being ignored. And it's not something it only happens in this farm. It's multiple. Multiple. It's it's happening almost everywhere. And it makes sense. Because when you're in an extreme environment like that, someone who's shooting a pig in his head every single day or gassing them every day to choke them, you don't think they're going to be mentally okay? When I was in war, I wasn't mentally okay. I have a lot of friends who's still not mentally okay.
Yeah. So you're talking
Yeah.
about things like PTSD, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, we kind of create that environment. And when you create that environment, this is the product of that. So when we have a system that's just that corrupt, and people could say like, well, this is how it's worked, this is how we're supposed to eat, how we're going to feed all these people. Well, I mean, you could say that, but at the same notion, you can say, do we have to really condone that though?
Mm-hmm.
There's other alternatives, and the alternative way isn't so bad. It's actually better for you.
Right. Yeah.
So you gain a lot of benefits from it. So when you're trying to throw a lot of shade on a vegan lifestyle without even trying it first and actually doing it right and trying to understand it, that it's not just about you, it's about other things as well. Like it's a win-win for everyone. And I joined the military because I wanted to be a hero and try to help as many people that I can. So, that's my true nature. So when it came to this lifestyle, I definitely want to align my morality to my beliefs. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that makes sense. That makes complete sense. And that is a very powerful, very, very powerful coming together of how you've related real life experiences of going to war and actually what goes on day to day in food production and the food that actually people are eating. But people don't see that, but
you don't see it.
But the emotions are identical, and that is, So is that one of the things that that you will tell people that might approach you when they're coming to work with you? Is that something?
It all depends on the individual.
I mean, did it get raised? I mean, because that's not something that I was going to ask you about necessarily, but the way you've explained it, I think that's the kind of thing that actually is so profound that I think people would just be like, shit.
Yeah.
No,
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. But like, I mean, when it comes to like clients and people who's interested in training with me, it all depends on how they approach me. If I know if it's more for like, just purely health reasons, I mean, I'll let them know, I'll tell them what they want to hear, but when it comes to the ethical part, I do eventually expose that. I mean, and people who worked with me already know I have that side, it's not I shy away from it. I wear vegan shirts. I talk about
I
throw in about animals. So it's not like they're coming in blindly, like not knowing like some of the stuff I feel or think about. So most of the time, if someone's coming more for health, they probably won't ask me in the beginning, but if they do ask, then I let them know, and and the best thing is that at that point we already established a relationship because they are already seeing the benefits just from a health standpoint anyways.
Of course.
So now adding that extra value when it comes to the ethical, and I don't try to push it. I just tell them my experience, and I tell them like, it'd be great when you make it into a lifestyle. Most people usually do. It's not really something I have to really push. It's just through the experience and the knowledge of what they're learning.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Creating that relationship with me, so it all connects together at the end.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you're a really approachable guy. The way you come across, you're softly spoken. You're not a typical that somebody would go. Here's a former Marine. People are going to be like, this guy's going to be scary. Don't get me wrong. Some of the pictures on Instagram you've got, you look pretty scary, right? And some of the stuff that you do, right? It's true, right? But it's but you're actually completely down to earth, normal. You're just a guy, but you can tell the difference in compassion. I think when you were in the Marines, something that I'm interested in is what did you eat then? Were you eating just a standard Western American, standard American diet?
Yes, sir. Yeah, standard American diet. I mean, beef, pork.
Just the usual, right?
Eggs, fried chicken, pizza, with all that stuff.
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
So and then and when during that transition period that you made
Yeah.
after you watched that talk, it's a powerful talk. I'll put a link to it afterwards. Among other things as well. Were you ever what you can now consider? Were you ever an unhealthy vegan? Would you ever consider yourself that at any point, looking back on it?
I mean, not really, because I mean, the thing with me is that when during my transition, I was always like a fitness enthusiast. I mean, I was in the military, you know, so I was always physically active, always working.
Yeah.
When it came to food, like, yeah, I ate like those type of foods, but I never gorged it down where, you know, like I got too bad. Like I think maybe, and I wasn't even vegan that then, because even when I was doing animal byproducts, I mean, the worst was like definitely like when I was in the Navy, and I really started packing on a lot of weight because I was just eating tons of garbage at the, you know, the job I was at. It was a lot of garbage, you know. But once I started transitioning, I always had that conscious idea when it came to like eating healthy, you know, like, you know, especially when it came to going vegan. And at this time I was in school, and what I did was I went pescatarian first. So I just eliminated all land animals, and then everything else was from plants. Like I was eating rice, black beans, string beans, and I started. When you're a student, you're broke, you know. So I wasn't buying no organic stuff and things. I just started off, I was eating canned stuff. Like that's how it is right now.
That's
But
okay.
just to let people know, because some people would say, well, it's too expensive. You could always start somewhere, you know, regardless if it's from a can or it's a genetically modified. Like in the end of the day, like is that alternative is a lot better what you're consuming now. Because when I was doing all the cheap foods, you know, but it was plant-based, and now I was getting like the cheap fish. You know, that's the only thing I was doing to supplement the protein. My body fat significantly dropped. And I saw a change in my body. I knew things was working. And the more I was learning about veganism, because throughout that transition at the time, there wasn't a lot of education. Like there wasn't even online. There wasn't like a lot of information about vegan stuff. So I had to do a lot of self-studies. And then also the classes I was taking, they were actually just introducing it. So the more I was learning and the more I was finding in the stores, like, oh, tofu is high in protein, and black beans, you know, you could get it this way. And, you know, just the more I think about genetically GMOs, non-GMOs, organic foods, like everything, once I started really diving deep into nutrition and more information started coming out. And then that's when it just got better. And pretty much once you dive deep into it, I mean, I kind of picked it up in a couple months.
For real.
You know, I just go,
for me, I mean, it was where I watched it after I watched the Forks Over Knives, and that was after you know, there was a bereavement in my family, and I started to put the connection together. You know, the chronic diseases and so on. There's a couple of things that I'm interested in with your aspect of this. You know, you've gone from being what you just described as being essentially like not having any cash to go and buy anything, you know, like decent, right, to eat. Behind you, you've got some like expensive products that you're going to be, you know, such as that you're selling as well, right? And right, you know, it's like this kind of like a little bit of a disconnect from where you were to where you are now. That's cool. That's cool progress. I like that. But something I want to ask you about on this is, where did the bodybuilding come in, and how has this affected? Quite frankly, there's no better term for it, because I watched the video on it. I completely agree with you. Things such as sex life, this type of thing. This is the stuff that, you know, people want to know. You know, people don't really come to people like me or you because they're particularly interested in being vegan, although that might be important to them. But where did the bodybuilding side come in? Like, where would you know? I mean,
well, that came in off through that transitional state, because once I realized I could do the whole vegan 100% plant-based. I know where I'm getting my protein sources, my vitamins, my minerals, my
Yeah.
fiber. Once I had the whole scope on that, that's when I knew, like, okay, you know, I look good, I feel good, you know, this is definitely the path I wanted to be. I'm glad I was able to achieve this because, like I said, like the whole, I knew about the ethics, but I wanted to also make sure, like, this is something that's really sustainable, you
Yeah.
know, like, you know, because I'm coming from a place that, you know, a good fraction of my life, I was taught eating meat, dairy, and eggs was the best thing, you know, known to
Well,
man.
we all were. Well, we all were, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So like I need to really make sure like this is like legit because that was the first time I'm ever hearing that. I never heard anything about vegan before. I heard about vegetarians, but not vegan. Like I was like, what? You know, never.
Yeah. No, I get that. And so the point on from that is, and a lot of people always, they come back, right? I hear this so many times in your community is they'll go, yeah, but that guy got big when he was eating meat. And then he's maybe been vegan for maybe 6 months or something, but he got big when he was eating meats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with me is that when I always worked out. So yeah, of course I built muscle throughout, you know, what I did and recreational time that I put into the gym. But when I once I went into the sport of bodybuilding, the training I did for like military and for just like personal training and stuff is completely different to like an actual sport that you're training. Especially bodybuilding. Like you're training sport specific. So it's a lot harder when you're doing that. And I put on muscle being on a plant-based diet, 100% plant-based, being 100% plant-based diet, 100% vegan, and was able to put on more muscle and also win, you know, trophies like first place. I got 3 pro cards from national, nationally qualified. Like pretty well rewarded as a vegan. So like I feel like it's definitely something that is highly sustainable and you can definitely use it, especially as if you're an athlete or something like that. You could definitely take it to those extreme ends. So if it can work for the athlete, definitely can work for someone who just wants like health and wellness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, for the average person, the change is dramatic. Absolutely. Yeah. No, did you notice that you became more attractive as well to the opposite sex? Did you find that you got more interest as well? Maybe from looking better, maybe because you're being more compassionate and so on. I think a lot of people find that because it's quite disciplined, or they perceive it to be disciplined, that they find them more attractive. Did you find that?
What do you mean exactly, though?
Did you find that chicks found you more attractive?
Oh, okay. I was like, what? No, I mean, when it comes to like maybe like if more on the libido end, you know what I'm saying? Maybe more on the libido end, yeah, like that definitely increased. I would say that, you know, I mean, with women and stuff, it was more, you could say through women, it's mostly like the women I date is more towards what I lean more towards in my lifestyle. So the healthier I am, you know, I'm more health conscious. You know, I don't party anymore. I don't, you know, I stopped drinking, you know, because even going on this lifestyle, it's like, man, if I'm eating better and eating all clean and stuff, why am I going out and drinking and destroying my body? You know, you start questioning because you're like you're going into something that's supposed to be really highly beneficial. So you're always thinking about like, what's the next thing that can improve myself, especially if you compete, you know, you do bodybuilding and stuff like that. You definitely want to be running your body at the most optimal levels, you know? So yeah, once I started changing my lifestyle, you could say like the choice of women started to change, you know? So they become
the answer is
more health conscious. You know, like my girlfriend now, she's you know, super health conscious. She works out all the time. You know, she's 100% vegan. She believes in the ethical standpoints. You know, so we both have similar views. You know, which is
important.
definitely more appreciated. You know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's crucial. There's a couple other questions as well. These are just ones that keep just appearing on here as well.
Yeah.
Things like chocolate, for example. Did you find any of these things like hard to give up? You know, like was there anything in particular that you found was difficult to give up, or was it just for some people that
Nothing hard. I mean, maybe I know in the beginning, like there were some things that I was like, oh man, I didn't know that wasn't vegan, especially during my first year, being vegan. There were certain things like I used to like Krispy Kreme donuts, and
yeah.
that was like my thing. That was like my little cheat. And when I found out it wasn't vegan, one of my friends called me out. He's like, dude, because what the first year being vegan, I mean, I'm learning too, but
Of
I'm
course.
still looking at stuff like if it, I was looking at things like if it doesn't have a mouth, pig, a butt, like it
Yeah.
ain't vegan, but like I didn't really look that deep. And then, you start learning more like, man, there's a lot of eggs and milk and all this stuff in a
Yeah.
You're like, damn, they really this is why, people get like overweight and heavy, addicted to the foods really fast because they put it in everything. And, you start really seeing it. And when I saw that, I mean, I got bummed out, but over time, especially now, I mean, if I wanted a vegan donut, I could go out and get one now.
Right.
Before it was just like, well, I guess I'm not eating donuts.
It didn't exist. There's a whole marketplace now of vegan junk
now,
food.
it's easier now. Like I feel like any of your favorite foods, someone has it or someone created it. It's somewhere you can find it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's because it's on the rise so much, which is phenomenal. So yes, I mean that kind of covers that. So you got an increase in libido with the bodybuilding. With that, do you get comments from other professionals as well about this? Do they question you and say, is it difficult? Are you really vegan? This type of thing. Do you get that ever?
Yeah. During like shows when I was competing, even now, like because last year I haven't competed and I haven't even thought about a show this year. But I mean, I still like judge shows and stuff like that. And people even see me like the last show I judged in December. I mean, I walked in literally like this, to judge the show with just a polo t-shirt, some slacks, and they thought like I'm going in there to compete. And people were surprised that I'm like just a judge. And then at the same time, when they found out I was vegan, they're just like amazed.
And that was because what? Because the low body fat that you just have naturally because of the diet.
Low body fat, the muscle I was able to put on. Because when a lot of people think that when you hear the word or the term vegan, people are like skinny and weak, malnourished. I mean, on social media, it's another story. I mean, I even get shade on me. I get people tell me that, you should be dead. You're malnourished. And, I get hate online. But at the end of the day, I'm like, well, you can't. It's really kind of unarguable because if I'm malnourished, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't look the way I look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know what I don't know what size your arms are. What 16, 17-inch biceps you got?
Oh, I'm not for sure. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, but I look at it and it's I mean, you look at the size of your biceps. You don't look like someone who's malnourished, right?
I don't even feel like it. So
exactly, and that's it. It's about how you feel. So with the programs that you offer. Because you've got so many. You've just got like this whole rap sheet of just people that you've transformed and so on and so on. The question I wanted just to ask on this, you got online programs and so on. Are they all vegan, all the programs that you offer? Is that the way you play it?
Well, I have transitional programs. So
right.
The thing is that some people, like they're very skeptical when it comes to the diet. So it's really hard to try to show people if I go 100% vegan in the like right off the gate. So, and there's very few people who does this. You know, most people are new vegans or people who just wants to go 100% right away. But I do have a couple that does fall within that transitional, and they want to take it a little bit slow because, and I understand the psychological aspect.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's coming into this lifestyle differently for different reasons. And I can't sit there on a call to convince them to do it for ethical reasons. I have to kind of meet them halfway because everyone has particular reasons. Like
exactly, it's their reasons, not your reasons.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, it's already good enough that they're this far.
Yeah.
You know, you have to congratulate them for at least they came this far, because there's people who just blatantly won't do it or won't even ask, or they'll curse it, you know. So at least they came that far and they're open, you know. So at least I have to meet them halfway with it. And what I'll do is I'll tell them that they can't have beef, pork, shellfish, or dairy. So I eliminate those byproducts. And then within the options of the animal proteins that they have would be like poultry, egg whites, and fresh caught fish. But then I do include more plant-based foods into their diet anyways. I include the vegan and vegetarian options in there. And this is just, it has nothing to do with you know, I don't really put in that much animal byproducts in the diet anyways, because if we're talking about a protein stance, you can get a lot of it from like the fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes.
Oh, exactly. Your beans and pulses, lentils. I mean, they got
and most people who's on an animal-based diet anyways needs to be consuming, like, I always say, at least 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day to get all your vitamins and minerals and get the fiber. You know, get the fiber intake so you can start digesting everything out.
Actually get the body moving. Actually, actually get it alive.
So when I do create these programs, like there's probably like 1 or 2 animal byproducts in there, maybe egg whites or maybe a poultry, or sometimes, most of the time, people are just like, you know, just put in like one particular thing. Like I get a couple of pescatarians. Or someone who's vegetarian, but they won't do the dairy. So I'll get a couple of those, but everything else, I'll show them all the different alternatives. So at least they have that one dish where they can relate, but then at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's like a big push on them. Like I explain to them that you need the vitamins, you need the minerals, you need the fiber. I give them the understanding of the foods, and then through the months, I ask them each month, like, how do you feel? Let's look at your results. If it's obviously majority of the time it's positive, right?
Well,
if they're following directions, because I do have people who don't get results, and those are the ones that don't follow directions. So
and not everybody's 100% adherent. I get it. I have the same. I have the same. You know, and
but
sometimes you know you got to kind of take people off, you know, but whatever. But you know, it is what it is with that situation. But what's your split out of interest, approximately male female with your clients? And what is it you're drinking? And before that, what is it you're drinking then?
Oh, it's just water. It's in a gallon thermal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you do everything you do that's bigger. This is like 1 liter of water. You got a gallon, right?
I keep a gallon because I feel like the more you have, then the more you're going to take more sips out of it, and I'll have to keep refilling it. You know,
that's some good psychology there, right there, actually. Yeah.
And then it's nice and cold too, because in a thermo, and I could take it to the gym. You know, it's like a limited supply. You know,
that makes sense. The split then. What would you do? You male, female?
I would say. I mean, I can't say exactly, but I definitely know I have a little bit more females than males.
Yeah,
I do have that. But it's more, and I feel like just because, you know, for the male aspect with the vegan thing, it's kind of hard because of the male masculinity thing.
So it's still there, that stigma is still there.
So, it's really hard to convince some men, but I do see more men are like definitely signing up to my program because of, first I'm a man as well, so I'm a great example.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the diseases and or maybe they saw a family member who dropped. I get a lot of
Right.
So it's through their experience, and they're just like now, and with all the new information coming out with the correlation of animal byproducts and diseases, there people are seeing this correlation. They're seeing a pattern when it comes to not just the family health history, but also what they're consuming. It's all the same.
Well, this is it. This is exactly it. Where maybe your audience is slightly different to mine. I'm getting people further down the line that have got the type 2 diabetes. They've got the high blood pressure. They've got the high cholesterol. Maybe they've had 1 or 2 heart attacks already, and they're getting to that point where they're going, I'll try something different, but I'm not going to go vegan. I'm not going to go plant-based. I'll say, hey, listen, let's just give it a try for a couple of weeks. And they'll say, all right, but I don't want to stop eating these things. I'm like, you've got to be prepared to stop eating the things that injured you to heal. There's got to be some give and take here with that side of thing from a medical perspective. And they see the results, in many cases, 2-3 days, energy levels start to come back up, and it's phenomenal. At that point, then they don't even care what it's called, whether it's vegan or it can be plant-based diet. It doesn't matter what the name is for it. They figured that out for themselves. It's not important. But they just get so curious about the whole thing that they're like, how did I not know about this earlier? And it's like, well, you did. You actually ridiculed it for so many years. And you said that vegans were this and that and the other, and they're malnourished and so on and so on and so on. I said, well, you've kind of overnourished yourself with the wrong things for your body. You put the wrong fuel in you, and that was the real problem with that sort of thing. So where next for you? What's the thing? I mean, you've got three titles in pro bodybuilding. You got a successful personal training business. Where next? What's happening? You're going for president? What's happening?
Nah. Not yet, I guess. I don't know. But man, like right now, like my main focus really is just continually building this business. Also, right now, one of the biggest things I've accomplished is I was on VeganVille, and episode 2 is coming out tomorrow. And VeganVille is almost like, you could say, like Big Brother, but a bunch of vegans. And it's a reality show.
Oh my gosh! That says we're talking reality TV with vegans. Is just
but it's cool.
That's because it's just terrifying for people.
It's really cool because it comes from different aspects of people. So we have Joey Carbstrong. He's in it. So he's coming from an animal activist.
He's the activism side of things.
Yeah, we have like a movie actor and a truck driver, Danny Shepard, and then we have Ricky Lemon, which is like, she's like more of a foodie. But the thing with her is that her family owns like a burger business.
Interesting.
So it's people coming from different backgrounds, and then we have Jody Anderson, which is a food, I guess you could call her like a food engineer or a food, food production, because it's like fast food, like vegan fast food meals. So, So we have people coming from different elements, like from a business perspective, fitness, activists, someone that has a foodie, but has family who has like a animal business.
We can watch that in the UK, so we'll check that out. Well, yeah, we'll have a look at that. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're moving. You're essentially becoming a celebrity then from that aspect, which is pretty cool. So that's
If
kind
they
of
do season 2, then yeah.
yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, no, it's beyond the pilot, isn't it? So hey, so it kind of works. No, but that's awesome. I
No,
think
it's
that's
a great platform. It really get the message out there.
yeah. I think
And,
television
and
is
that's
a
the
good.
best thing about it, because see, I've been getting a lot of feedback from the show already from
Yeah.
from viewers who watched it, and they're saying that what they like about it the most is that it's because it's a reality show, so it's not just coming from a vegan's perspective. You can also see it because we go to like vigils, we go to farmer to the farmlands, and we talk to farmers and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So you're actually seeing what happens. You see different types of farms. You see like what really goes on. It's a reality show.
So
Yeah.
there's
So
education as well as
yeah,
what you're talking about.
a lot of education. So it's not just one sided.
Yeah.
You're hearing it from different perspectives.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's where you are. So that's the intermediary step before you move up. That's it. There's one final thing that I wanted to speak to you about, just because I went to an event in 2014. It was on the Esselstyn family farm, upstate New York. I was chatting to James Wilkes then when it was just a concept, and we were two Brits in New York, right? People thought, like whatever, in the sense of like, here we are, we're two Brits, everybody wants to talk to us because of our accent, right? And he said to me, he said, I've got this idea. He said, this is what it is. I want to get James Cameron on board. He said, I want to get Schwarzenegger on board. He said, this is what it is. I want to tell my story, and so on. Have you spoken to him? Have you had any communication with him? As such, I know you guys are. I see on Instagram you kind of. I think he follows you, or you follow him, or whatever. But you've watched it though, the movie, yeah?
Yeah. I watched the documentary. Yeah.
Yeah, you find it interesting? I mean, you think it was.
I think it's a legit documentary. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I feel like all the noise that's out there about the documentary, I feel like the best thing to watch is the 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan and James Wilkes.
Right, that was that
interview, and listen, this like. It's one thing when you watch a documentary and then you make your opinions and then you listen to all these like Instagrammers or whatever talk crap about it. But it's the next thing when you actually hear it from the person who actually made the movie.
Yeah.
And this guy goes in and he's very intelligent. He put a lot of work. And it's just like when you see someone who actually gave a damn and actually put in the time, the effort, the work, and you can hear the intelligence coming out of his mouth. He's not just making up a bunch of lies and bullshit. Like he came prepared. I felt like he brought in every single study he had and all the research he had for that movie in that interview. That's why.
Well, this is it. This is the whole thing, I mean, when I spoke to him, I mean, this is 2014, right? So we're going back now. It's pretty much 6 years. I was kind of like, yeah, okay, maybe this is a pipe dream that you're talking about, or maybe this is actually going to happen. Like at this point, I wasn't really so sure. He obviously had the excellent background in UFC and so on, and mixed martial arts, and he's trained a lot of military as well. But it was like, is this actually going to happen? But then you start to see the rise of these other movies. It's cool. But then people were starting to go, and starting really to rip into GameChangers and saying, oh yeah, but that's just vegan propaganda like this, where's all the studies, where's the data? And I'm like, look, this is a 90-minute documentary here. If you want all the studies and all the data, this documentary is going to be 3-4 days long to go through all the information. I said, that's the reality of it. You can't get all that information across in 90 minutes to reference everything. I said, you know, this is entertainment. This is not, you know, a whole educational series. I said, you got to go and do your own research on this. And you're right. So that interview with Joe Rogan, that was a really good one to watch. I really enjoyed that. So that's cool.
And if you're that serious to know the truth, you'll sit there and watch it. And like, you know, 5-minute, like, you know, highlight reels and stuff like that. If you really want to learn the truth, just sit there and watch it. I mean, I just broke it into pieces, you know. I had to, but I listened to everything because, I mean, this is why I do what I do, because I enjoy learning more about health and nutrition. You know, I want to know the truth, you know.
Absolutely. That was my journey really with me. It was kind of like, why are people getting sick from this? Is it really from food that's causing this, or is that just a kind of scapegoat? Is it the fact that people are just not so active or whatever? What is the biggest influencer of health, long-term health particularly? And it's like, yeah, it's the food. It is the food, you know. It's people are killing themselves 3 times a day. You know, it's like that sort of thing. So yeah, so it's cool. Listen, it's been good. I enjoyed the time with you. It's fantastic. You know, it's really good. So your the website, I'll put a link into it. So it's bodyhdfitness.com. Yeah, you've got on there. You got programs. You work with people remotely as well. So you do that sort
all
of thing.
around the world. I train people in the UK as well.
Yep. My audience is about 70% UK, probably 20% US, and then the rest probably, you know, Australia, other English-speaking countries as well. So that's that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, so that's good. So we can do some stuff. When I'm next in Miami, I think it's going to be in the summer. I think maybe we'll check it out. I'd love to get a workout with you. I don't have the arms that you do.
Well, that's cool. We can still have fun though.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we just go get something, go to grab a bite to eat or something. You know, that's what I'm talking about. But you know, that's good stuff. Cool. All right. Well, listen. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too, man.
Yeah, all good. All right. Thanks, Korin.
All right. Peace, man.